next 4 songs, actually, this demo reel is going to be a tribute to America, the people in America, and our own value as Americans. So we wrote this song, Robert Arduino, Lenny Leoste, and myself. Hey everybody, it's Maiden. And we're here regarding the vote. And it's about life, liberty, and the pursuit of freedom and happiness, freedom for the people. I am free, you are free, and we are free, and there's freedom for the people. I did a demo in the studios here in Santa Fe at Kitchen Sink Studios, and that first song that we did on that reel, Life, Liberty, and the Pursuit of Happiness, is out of the Constitution, and I wrote this song from the Constitution so that you could hear it and maybe listen differently than if you were to read the Constitution, which seems a little bit, you know, I don't know, it's hard to get sometimes excited about the Constitution because once you read it, you can debate each issue so differently, and you can lose the promise. You can lose the essence of freedom by overanalyzation and over-debating. Okay, so in the Fourth Amendment, let me just read this to you. The people have a right to govern themselves as free sovereigns and independent freedom. All the people are born equally free, with natural, inherent, and inalienable rights, among which are the rights of enjoying and defending life and liberty, of acquiring and possessing and protecting property, and of seeking and obtaining safety, along with happiness. Okay, these are the promises. And our system is supposed to be enforcing those promises, but what's happened in our presidential seat is undisclosed shenanigans and bamboozle and embezzlements have been happening since the beginning of our country. Now today, Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth said that she would gladly bring the Queen offers to restore British rule over United States. Here's what she says in London. This is the Borowitz Report. In an unexpected televised address on Saturday, Queen Elizabeth II offered to restore British rule over the United States of America. Addressing the American people from her office in Buckingham Palace, the Queen said that she was making the offer, quote, in recognition of the desperate situation you now find yourselves in, unquote. What is that desperate situation? Any different than anything we've been doing all this time? Okay, I would really love to hear her perspective describing what exactly is she talking about as this desperate situation. She goes on to say that the Queen urged Americans to write in her name on Election Day, which is today, after which the transition to the British rule could begin, quote, with a minimum of bother, unquote. Queen Elizabeth acknowledged that in the wake of Brexit, Americans might justifiably be alarmed about being governed by the British parliamentary system, but she reassured them Parliament would play no role in the deal. Quote, this would be an old school monarchy, just me, and then assuming you'd rather not have Charles, we would go straight to William and those children of his who have mesmerized you so. Using the closing moment of her speech to tout her credentials, the Queen made it clear that she has never used email and has only had sex with one person very occasionally. That's interesting. Okay, so the point. What is the point? Okay. Number one, we have a queen over on the other side of the ocean who is saying that our situation over here is desperate, and I don't personally understand exactly what she's focusing on, because here's what I see. No longer under British rule means that we are no longer beholden to this tax structures. That was a lot of the British rule. She went on to say here that this 240-year experiment, quote unquote, experiment in self-rule, which is us ruling ourselves, which never got to happen, began with the best of intentions, but I think we can all agree that it didn't end well. So it's over. Whatever that was is over. And that was her quote. So British rule over our country for 240 years held America to the Delaware structures, the tax structures, all of everything that was influenced by Britain at the beginning of our country in the 1700s. So today in 2018, we're looking at November 6, 10:05, today's voting day. She's saying write her name in if you want more of this, or not. Do not write her name in. Why? Because we don't want another country ruling America. Okay, we want America to rule America. Now you're going, where is the wealth of America? Maiden of Santa Fe, MICHA G. Valdez, has studied the entire structures of our wealth. And I can go right to it, uncover it, and it will blow your mind how wealthy America truly is. Now, I don't hear any candidates talking about this, and I realize in prayer and other confirmations that the body of knowledge, the skill set I possess, is very, very highly unique, okay? And I'm offering that service free of charge to come over into any sector, including our president, President Trump, and offer him my services to prove to him what I'm saying is true. Now, and I haven't ever been received by him. Okay, he's been in office for 2 years. I also wrote letters, packages. I did all of this exact same thing with President Obama, and he also never responded to me. So no one is in Washington is in the presidential executive suite, at least, is taking me seriously. So it's election day. If you feel I have credibility with you and you want to see if this is real, you will write me in the ballot for governor of New Mexico so we can start here, or you will write me in the ballot for any House or Senate seat. I qualify for Texas, I qualify for California, and I qualify for New Mexico. I am a registered Republican. And I would prefer to stay as a Republican due to the fact that it is one of the true essences of truth, even though it's looking really shabby lately. We have a very deep investment in our republic, and I want to stand with that. I don't want to let that go. We also have a very deep investment in our democracy, and if I could do both, I would, because all of us have this democratic side in us where we want a democracy. And then all of us have in us really this heart for this republic to stay united together and be strong as one big unit as the United States of America instead of having so much division. Now I want to go into this morning's value issue, which is the huge issue about our vote. Now in the process of the research that I've done over almost 20 years, we have a value of $600 billion per person in a full lifetime. It's behind you. You can't see it. It's hidden. It's undisclosed. It is highly, highly directed in the most elite circles of privilege, that you do not disclose these structures of wealth. You do not disclose the perpetuity values. You do not disclose all these things. But because I am not an attorney under oath, I am free in America as a forensic expert of finance to bring you, based on analyzations of facts data, metadata, forensic data. We can go into a lot of evidence here. So I'm not just talking, I am truly standing here before you, Maiden of Santa Fe, MICHA G. Valdez, 2020 presidential candidate, and willing to take a position in any other ability that I can to go ahead and start this leadership going. Okay, New Mexico needs this big time. Okay, but here's why I'm not voting here in New Mexico. In the research I've done, New Mexico, especially Santa Fe, is run by the cabal. This is holy royal territory owned by the Pope. He has allowed the ranchers to take over the properties of the royalty of Spain, which is the common man families. In Santa Fe, there's a list of royalty families, and everyone knows it, who is anybody that's been here for any length of time. Some of those families have had other bigger entities research and validate and endorse this is a true issue of royalty in a common man family, and they're treated like slaves. And everything's been stripped from them, and they haven't fought back, okay? Now, when I married Stephen James, and understood everything after we got married, and all the story unfolded about his aunt, Ecolostica Larson, Samuel Larson, and Mary Ecolostica Larson of the El Rancho Viejo land grant, the original holders, which is his aunt, his great aunt, who he loved and she loved him. Yeah, when this story came out and I was understanding exactly what happened, I started forensically investigating all of the avenues of the historical timeline. And this is a huge robbery, not just of the Valdez, Rivera, Herrera family, and the Trujillo family as well, who were the owners of Los Alamos National Lab grant, underneath there. They were the first owners of Los Alamos, but they got kicked out eminent domain to build the lab. I mean, there's just a lot of encroachments of elitism, and nobody has protected the people. So I have been standing opposed here for now going on December, 7 years in courts, getting my head beaten in by the courts, by the attorneys who are a great big conglomerate Delaware corporation attorneys, and the courts, the judges rolling over in the pocket of these attorneys and the banks and Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. And Papa Francisco knows this is his land territory, land portfolio, and he has done nothing either. So we have one pope falls down and does nothing for the people. We've got our judges falling down in pressure of being in the pocket of the banks. We've got our attorneys beholden to the bar. Boom, they go down because they have promised we will not disclose these elite structures of the Delaware. You've got our Congress and our House and our Senate and our House representatives here in Santa Fe, New Mexico, going down like pawns in a sinking ship because they too will not fight for the royalty issue that is in American people. We don't need the Queen to come over here with Prince William and establish a monarchy here. We don't need to do that. And we don't need Her Majesty either to do our good old boys monarchy either. Okay, what it isn't about good old boys monarchy, and it isn't about old school monarchy in Europe. It's about a brand new nation of America, the United States of America. And now all of the immigration that's happening is accelerating again. It's a cycle. It's a historical cycle. And here's where we are. Okay, we've got our slave books already established, good 300, almost 300 years old, of slave investment, slave master contracts. That's where our mortgages are. That's where our car loan. This is all the credit systems, everything the Federal Reserve did in the 40s. And bringing in the Federal Reserve more slave. You just drove it deeper into the galvanization of slavery when you brought in the Federal Reserve. Now we have an opportunity here, 2018, all these years later, to stand on our own 2 feet and identify the true value which is found in the human life. That's why they want you to vote. They want you to vote not to tell you, did you know that your whole life is worth $600 billion as you get a job and you earn minimum wage? Yeah, we're on the backside doing the Queen's math on your life. And then when you join, when you go to college, yeah, that diploma right there, that's the security instrument. We're trading on the stock market. We're going to hand you the debt, sweetie pie. And then, you know, on and on and on, where you're getting, we out here, 100%, 99.9% of America is getting handed the bill. At the same time, in the back of the house, in securities UCC jurisdiction, SEC jurisdiction, they're making money hand over fist on the securities market of every human life. There is no lack of money. It's just that they've moved it so eloquently all over the place, and they do with every day. They continue to move the wealth around. Now our voting system is infiltrated by foreign nations. Facebook says we're going to do this or that. Facebook is a little guy on the blip screen of this whole idea of having a free nation, voting freely for our choice of leadership, when in reality what it is a tech sector that is run completely ahead of America and doing exactly what they want, okay? So here's what we need to do. We need a president that the people will fight for to get that one person to that seat, okay? The president, the best president that we can have is one that has a vision of the quantification of righteousness. What is that? In value, you will find two fields of value, a visible field and an invisible field, okay? An invisible field is such as the wind. You can't see the wind, but the wind is there. And it's creating energy, wind energy. So the only way that we really understand the evidence of wind is to put things in the air to watch, to show us what is the wind doing. It's a wind vane, right? Okay, so the wind vane is measuring the energy of the wind. If you didn't have the wind vane, you wouldn't be able to really measure that energy. You have to put an instrument of measure into the air, into a place that can understand the velocity, the magnitude, the strength, all that you learn when you do weather broadcasting. Okay, so, but my point is, wind is invisible. You can have a tornado or a hurricane and see all of that. Once it's really, really, really concentrated, you can then see the wind. But most of the time, the wind is blowing and you cannot see it. But it is a quality energy, magnified energy that is rolling through our atmosphere. Oxygen's another one. Carbon dioxide's another one. Heat from the sun is another one. I mean, there goes on and on and on of the invisible energy that is in us as human beings and all around us, okay? Now, these are God's acts of God, okay? It isn't only the sector of insurance is this sector that is defined acts of God. And they measure them, and they sometimes, they deliberate over, are these acts of God, are they liabilities, or are they risks, or what are they? And they bring them into the subjection of a lot of analyzation. Okay. So the two values on a human life is a visible value and an invisible value. And 99.9% of American citizens have no idea of their true value and their true extrinsic and intrinsic values. They go, they just kind of trot along in the system, and they're going, okay, I need a job, let me get a job. And you go and you interview for the job, and they ask you ask, how much is this pay? And they say minimum wage, and you go, okay, because you're desperate. You have no other way to access your value. Okay. I, MICHA G. Valdez, Maiden of Santa Fe, presidential candidate for 2020, write-in candidate, okay? Do it. Write my name in. MICHA G. Valdez. Write my name in. Okay? If I win, I will begin this process of clearing this pathway, hacking away these lies, getting down to a quality pathway for every single citizen to access their secondary trust accounts when they're ready to make a financial decision that is educated, planned out, well thought out, given a lot of strength in terms of sponsorship or whatever, partnerships. I mean, there's a myriad of reciprocity that we can get into. There are sponsorships that I would like to endorse as a presidential candidate to help these 2 to 3 different already going on societies, which is the Society of the Boy Scouts, the Society of the Girl Scouts, and the sponsorship of these children going through these society clubs and exercises to understand how to take care of themselves in a case of emergency, and not just care for themselves but others. And when I was a Girl Scout and I was a Brownie and I didn't have a home, and I was, the only time I could really go through it when I got to go through it, I learned so much about care, and it really impacted my life, even though I didn't get a chance to go all the way through. My girls got to go through, but not all the way through. And it is, these children are now being targeted. We had 3 children, Girl Scouts, picking up trash in Wisconsin, and they got hit by a car. This person was going straight down this highway for a long time. And then all of a sudden they see these kids, and he intentionally went in and ran these kids over. It killed a mother, I believe a mother and 3 little girls, or a troop leader and 3 little girls. I'm not sure, but there was one leader, and then there was 3 children, Girl Scouts. Now, this is a perpetuity file. The Girl Scouts, the Boy Scouts, Eagle Scouts, all the Scouts of America need acknowledgement, and I want to sponsor them on my presidential campaign of freedom. The other thing I want to do is be a banner holder of the banner of value of the vote, value of the human life. Always be preaching to you about that, where it's lining up in the Word of God, where it's lining up in our commerce, and do we get it or do we not get it? And up to this point, we haven't gotten it. And President Trump, I am challenging you to articulate where you are with this. And you can say, well, we did the tax thing, and the tax thing needs to go away. If we're no longer under the supervision of Britain and the books of Britain, we need to say goodbye to taxes, okay? Because it's a burden of fear on every human life, and it's not a conducive dynamic or paradigm to growing sovereignty in our lives, okay? So that needs to go away. The issues of women and equality need to start as little girls. The issues of women and equality with little girls and little boys having an equal status of value as children growing up, going into high school, going into college, coming out, going into the work field. They all the way through need to substantiate, actually have on the books equal value, okay? Every human life is not a worker laborer. Yes, it's been that way for almost 300 years, but there is a new paradigm of illumination happening all over the world, and it's opening our eyes, and the internet had a lot to do with it and all that, but basic bottom line of what I'm trying to say is that the equality factor is a dynamic of math that is a new measure, and it's mom. I am your mom, America, okay? And mom might not sound sexy, might not sound, popular, whatever, but this candidate, Mom America, Made in America, I'm the mom of America, it isn't just about women. It's about our soldiers. It's about our military. It's about those who protect us the most, that have no disclosure who owns that corporate structure of our Army, our Navy, our Air Force, and our Marines, and everyone else who is invisible, our Secret Service. I found out yesterday our Pentagon is trading on the stock market, and they're in bed with, this is really shabby what's happened here. And I don't want to be a tattletale, but this is the issues that I'm going to go after here. So there is a domestic valuation of mothers that has never, ever, 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 by any president of the United States ever stood opposed for mom's values, staying home, watching these kids, cooking, cleaning, teaching, rearing, helping, going to school with them, being the mother PTA president or whatever. Most of these jobs having to do with kids and having to do with raising children, they don't get paid. Yeah, and it's the same thing as a missionary. Most of the work I have done in my life, I'm 57 years old, I've been serving God since I was 23 years old. I haven't received a paycheck, okay? So I'm trying to tell you that there's domestic issues in America, a lot of labor going right past the board, and if you get hurt, God forbid you get hurt, because here's what happens when you do. If you get hurt, happen to be working or volunteering or raising kids or doing anything like that, and you go to the Social Security and you apply for benefits, they're going to tell you that you haven't contributed to the system because you haven't had a job. So the credit system is betraying us, the job system is betraying us, and you're devaluing all of us every single day as we go into these offices of public service and we go into these offices of public aid, and they continue to look at us, all of us, 99.9% of us, in question of whether or not we've contributed to society. Okay, so I think it's pretty simple on an intake situation. If a person comes to you with a birth certificate and a driver's license and a Social Security card, and they tell you that they've been raised and born and raised in America, they have children that are in school and have graduated with stellar honors, okay? And they have been in the same place, owned a home for a long time, and they have done nothing but volunteer all over the place to give their contribution to society, and then they go into the services that are here for them when they need them, and they get this sinister profile. That's illegal, that is injurious, that is communistic, okay? We should not be begging for the value of our lives when we need the value of our lives, but we are. We are begging for our college educated sons and daughters to have the value of their diploma revealed to them. Okay, this is a security instrument. We've been making money on it the whole time you're in school. We're going to offset any debt that you have on student loans, and we're going to actually have you come in as the executor, rightful heir of this diploma that you have worked so hard for. That's the true conversation, and that's the conversation of the Maiden over everyone who's in college, over everyone who's in school, and over the board of directors, over every single university in America about why you are not disclosing this perpetuity value to some of your most honorable alumni. On top of that, our military, MOM, the Maiden of Santa Fe, the Maiden America campaign for president. I am going to find out who owns our Army, our Navy, our Air Force, and our Marines. And I'm going to go and I'm going to sit with them. And I'm going to ask them to bring up their collective bargaining agreements if they have any. And they shouldn't have any. And if they do, they're slaves. And we need to get out of those agreements. Because America's military needs to belong to America. These are our sons, these are our daughters, these are our fathers, these are our mothers. In some cases, our grandfathers and grandmothers are still in serving our country. And there's been no protections on value, extrinsic and intrinsic, since the beginning of our country. We don't need to have another country step in and show us how to do a monarchy. I think we can handle that on our own. But thank you for that offer. That's a very generous offer. Okay, so Mom America, is to bring the moms forward and start giving them some of this domestic financial value that is on their lives. And I know exactly where to find it. It is about women and little girls growing up in the security of understanding that they're American, that they are connected to their value, that they are connected to their name, that they are connected to their lands. Another big one, their lands. Hello. And if you live in a deep density city, like one of the major market cities like New York City or LA or Chicago, where you're in a city and you don't have land, you're lucky to pay the rent. Yeah, we're going to get you reconnected to, yes, you can live in the city, but you should have another residence that's in the country and lets you enjoy land in your name. These are the issues. Our military. We don't want our military looking at some criminal activities saying, I make more money being a criminal in the military than I do living clean for God in my military and obeying orders. Okay? We want our military to have such an incentive to live crystal clean lives that they know right, they know wrong, they move quickly in the right, they move quickly when it's wrong, they know how to redeem a situation, they know how to set up a situation like these immigrants coming over. This is old stuff. This is old stuff. And anytime that there is a huge caravan coming into your country, they're running from something. And if you have a good intake administrative intake to question what has happened in your country, what has happened? These are war crimes. Okay, if they are humanity crimes going on, America is going to blow the whistle on that country. If these people come over into America and they are truly wounded and they can show they are, which most of them are going to be traumatized because they've come all this way. They're looking for freedom. They're looking for sovereignty. They want to breathe. They don't want to be slaves. But here in America is where our Congress, our House, our representatives, everybody that we have appointed there already before this election, you have failed drastically, is my point. Because you have protected the wrong thing. You haven't protected the people. You've protected your own self-interest. And the evidence of that, go to your bank account. You're going to see how you have made yourself rich, but everyone else out here is still floundering. And yes, there's job numbers, but if we were to take apart the economy element by element, we are not where we are supposed to be. It is not secure, okay? Bitcoin, unsecured. All cryptocurrencies, unsecured. Labor master agreements, unsecured. Sorry. And the only thing that's secured, the only thing that's truly intrinsically guaranteed is the guarantee in the Word of God of the value of the human life. That is what we should be driving our economy on. That is what we should be preaching to our children all the way through, is that in America, you're going to come over from all over the world. You're going to bring you're going to bring your talents, you're going to bring your family, you're going to bring your God, you're going to bring your religion, you're going to bring your culture, you're going to bring everything inside of you. But when you show up in America, you're in a different place, sweetie pie. You're in a place of faith. You're in a place of faith with God, straight up, you and God, okay? He's got promises for you, but your promises are contingent on your faith in God's goodness. Now, is our Congress talking like that? Is our House of Representatives talking like that? Does our president feel comfortable to walk through our house, our chambers? He's calling it a snake pit, okay? So I'm not voting, okay, because I know too much. I'm not voting because my vote is going to validate this system. And I cannot validate this system anymore. I'm not representing what I'm going to do here if I vote, okay? Because the vote is going to fall on people's lives that are unaware of how to bring people into true freedom. They haven't taken the time to study it. They haven't taken the time to get out of the mix, become obscure, study excessively, and stand a post in a real setting of battle, which is the courts, and find out what this is about firsthand. I have. And if somebody wants to say, what have you produced? that is successful. It's the fact that I'm alive, okay? I'm still alive. I'm still alive to lead and guide and bring every single American citizen into their value without lying to them anymore. To bring full disclosure and honor to the top brass all the way down without tearing this country apart. And I do command my military of the United States of America to not stand down, but to be very, very vigilant over the money side of their life. Okay, that means their paycheck. Look and see who is paying you. Do your research. Okay, if you are owned by another country, then I immediately challenge you to let somebody know that on national news somewhere. You need to disclose that. Okay. CIA, I challenge you to disclose your ownership. I know who that is now in detail. And shame on you. Shame on you. We have a need for you to be completely loyal to America. See, the CIA, our Secret Service, our FBI, we need everyone, Department of Justice, everyone, our Treasury, everyone to recommit to a loyalty only to America, which means that we do have foreign policy, but it is not able to pass a certain line of infiltration into our leadership of America, okay? And when you do the forensic study of tracking on our voting system, you're allowing all of the Americas to come in and vote. Okay, and it's quite generous how much access that you've given to this voting system just to manipulate it, inundate it, overrun it. So it's very difficult to track who has who has taken these balances of the vote and outweighed them with some inordinate infiltration of code, infiltration of algorithmic formulas, infiltration of favor maybe on one particular candidate, okay? And it's basically impossible to find out. Okay, you can try, but when you come down to the table of revealing the forensics on it, I'm going to tell you right now, it's going to end that conversation. If it's an honest conversation, it's going to be a conversation that is going to actually say we could not nail it completely down. That if it was honest, and that's the truth, and that's because of the tech sector. So if you want to point the finger, which sector is allowing the infiltration? It's our tech sector. Big time. Okay, guys, all of our candidates in New Mexico are suspect. All of our candidates in Santa Fe, big time suspect. All of our current faculty at the very top of every sector in Santa Fe, very suspect. Okay? All insiders suspect. We have an infiltration of cash flow right now. But Santa Fe Police Department, of all people, our sons and daughters, once again, in my case, my family, my brother, okay? And they are getting paid, literally, $10 an hour less than Albuquerque, which is just at 45 minutes over. On the freeway. Albuquerque is getting all the money of all of these trusts over there. And they don't even want it to come into Santa Fe because it's going in just to a few pockets here. Powerful pockets here. And it doesn't go to the people, and they know it. So our police department, who are the public servants of civil peace, are leaving the Santa Fe Police Department and going to Albuquerque Police Department and serving there. And then if there's an emergency in Santa Fe, then they call the marshals or the state police, who I haven't even really looked at, but except for that I do know that all of our armed forces in New Mexico are under collective bargaining agreements, which are slave master agreements. And I can tell you right now, what I saw last I looked at this, it was huge, huge discrepancy in the true value of these individuals who are serving our country, putting their life on the line, hello, and they're also having them be insured for their lives, which makes them worth more dead than alive, which is exactly what they've done with our military for almost 300 years. So no, when Your Majesty Queen Elizabeth, we don't need your help, but thank you. Here we need America to have their own courage of their convictions, to stand on their own 2 feet, to get inside of the Delaware and see the Dynasty Trust wealth is all right there. That is your justification and endorsements for every state, every citizen born in the United States of America. Hello, this is not hard, okay? We have more than enough security, true intrinsic security, to pay all of our debts, get everybody back into a foundation of structure and security, attach people to their lands once again, and allow these families to grow strong, okay? You know how they build strong families in aristocratic families in Europe? They give them the land, and it's not just like 5 acres. It's hundreds and hundreds and sometimes thousands of acres, like my husband's family was taken from them. And these hundreds and thousands of acres allow a barrier between them and real life people. And they have their families raised in these very sequestered, sanctioned off areas where they can have the best of everything. And nobody sees that. What are they missing? A real life. And that's why Prince Harry is marrying an American girl like Princess Grace. Same situation, same repeating of the same sector, same story. It's repeating itself, but just now it's Prince Harry and Princess Megan instead of Princess Grace and Prince Rainier. Okay, we're just doing another country. Same issue. Okay, so I'm concerned for Princess Megan because Princess Grace was killed off of a cliff, and before she signed up to marry, they had her sign off on her children were not going to be her children. America, you need to stand for freedom, family, and no more fear, okay? We are hard workers here in America. We will put our nose to the grindstone and work our fannies off to do well with the world. But when you take that honor and labor and loyalty to America, and you exploit it and rip it off and shave off all of the presented in such a way where it's just such a little contribution. You've just done such a little bit. You know, that's what they told me when I went to go get my Social Security benefits for after my heart attack, when my strength completely was diminished from that March 23rd, 2013. After I started fighting these big banks in court is when I had the heart attack. The stress was crazy, okay? And since then, it's 32 seizures. I haven't had one in over a year, which is great. But that's because of marijuana, and you got to go into a whole nother thing of judgment because of marijuana. Okay, so I'm just trying to say, Maiden of Santa Fe, MICHA G. Valdez, has eyes in the righteous realms and paradigms of measure. Not only that, but I've taken that, what God has shown me, and I've delved deep into the study to find out, is this just my imagination, or is this really substantiated with evidence forensically? And yes, it is. So I am not going to shut up, go away, do whatever. You know, you don't see me on the ballot, put me on the ballot. I'm right here, okay? Write me a letter. My address here is 3600 Cerrillos, Cerrillos Road, Suite 734, Santa Fe, New Mexico, 87507. Send me a letter that you put me on the ballot for this or that position. That's all you got to do. Give me your name, your address, your phone number, and I promise you, I will look deeper into that and officially acknowledge and accept and receive that, or send you a letter on any other issue that would be obstructing that, okay? Because I get a lot of that, okay? All right. It is about value. Value undisclosed. value that is hidden, value that is on every single time you sign your name, go vote, do whatever, any time of involvement of you in contributing to this society. Cha-ching, cha-ching, they're racking up the numbers. And my issue, I am championing. There's many issues I'm championing, being a champion for. It's this issue of value, showing you where it is and accessing it in a practical application of understanding, of education, of charting. It's not a willy-nilly thing. It's bringing you out of slavery. If you're one of the 99.9%ers, it's bringing you out of slavery and into a beneficiary, into an executor position of your own trusts. It is allowing you to be a corporation, which you already are. It is a revelation of you being a bank, which you already are, and is showing you who you are in your corporate fiction and introducing that in such a way where it's not over your head. You can't explain it. It's not too hard to understand. It's just that they haven't believed in you to understand it. The 1% sit around in their dens, their old school monarchy dens, which is what Her Majesty was saying. We're going to do that again? No, negative. We're not doing that again. We do have royal status. We do have royal vicar bloodlines, which is my case, this is where we are. But we don't have leadership to understand how do we bring the royalty of the human life forward and allow them to live as royals in a democratic society. It's called sovereignty. It's called the sovereignty structure. We're all royal before God. And that is scientifically proven in our DNA. It's just that some have the universities proving it on some families that are very valuable, like mine, and some universities just bypass other names because they found whatever, something more in this other line, okay? It's very fickle, but if you come down to the actual presentation of saturation of who is involved in all of this causation, it's everyone. All over, all countries, all over the world. This is a world issue. And the national issue of America, these national issues are the fact that our military, we don't know who owns it. Our treasury, we don't know who owns it. Or our Federal Reserve, we don't know who owns it. Go on and on and on. That's whole swamp. What is that? What is a swamp? I mean, that is just such a metaphor for alligators. Yeah, no, it's way bigger than that, sweetie pie. It is an ownership deed contract position that says American lives are owned on a foreign level. Okay, that's how for 7 years, literally 7 years, I have been fighting these cases about India being our servicer, giving us false information, leading us into default, and with a false premise of getting help in hardship, when in reality it is accelerating these credit default swap insurances that were around the contract. India knew that, but we didn't know that. Okay, and until we get ourselves into the situation through their guidance and leadership, did we understand exactly how misled we were becoming. So foreign governments standing alone, you know, you can really go visit and enjoy and get into the cultures and understand the people and whatever. But when you are a big Delaware conglomerate like Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, and you hand over the servicing to another country, doesn't even acknowledge American Constitution, and doesn't even acknowledge, I mean, India is turning robots into citizens, okay? We are on such a different level of ethics than India. I mean, you look at their leadership, and they're good with most of their country, super impoverished, dude. And then they're giving them the job of servicing my estate. Dude, oh my gosh. So, okay, well, I love you guys, and I need you guys to understand. I might not look very big to you, but if I was given the support that any other of our presidents were given, we're going to make huge strides in securing our economy, where you're no longer going to be worried about bubbles and inaccurate pressure readings and water in the system where you think that there's nothing there and there's a bunch of stuff going on in that. Yeah, all the zombie portfolios. I mean, you know, we're going to go through everything, believe me. Okay, let me just pray for you. Father God, I just want to thank you for my America. Thank you for this world, this beautiful earth you've given us, everyone in it, all over the world. But for America right now, God, I just ask you in the power of faith of every heart, of every little one, God, every small one, from teenagers 18 and up who can vote, God, that you would just put it on their heart to write in Maiden, MICHA G. Valdez, in their ballot, God, so we can bring forward this freedom of what you have shown me, Father, and I give my life to that. I thank you, I worship you, and I give you praise and glory. Just bless everyone who votes today in that courage of their conviction, and I thank you in Jesus' name, amen. Once again, I will not be voting. I said to President Trump, I emailed a response back to him, if you call me, I will vote. But that will be out of a conversation that you and I will have regarding this issue of hidden value, undisclosed value. You don't call me, I'm not voting, okay? You call me and say, we're working with this. We are doing this because you have not disclosed that, Mr. President. And I'm challenging you to disclose how you are doing this. Value status of our true status. Look inside SEC jurisdiction. Look inside UCC jurisdiction of every human life, the trust, all the trusts that are created on a human life. Okay? Okay. I love you guys.